So I'd like us to all consider that our decisions shape our destiny. Now think of all the daily decisions that you are making now. Many of us working from home, raising our kids from home, and the decisions we make can positively or negatively impact our lives and our leadership. And now more than ever, like Charlie was telling us, we need to be flexible, innovative, creative leaders making good decisions. And I know at the tender age of 17, I made a huge decision that impacted my life and my leadership when I decided to join the Marine Corps. Now this is 17-year-old Michael scared out of his mind in boot camp. And during basic training, we got to do all types of cool things, including holding and throwing live hand grenades. Now, there I was, it was my turn to go. I'm holding the live hand grenade and I forgot what to do. I couldn't remember if it was thumb clip, pull pin, or pull pin, thumb clip, but I am standing there holding a live hand grenade. Now, somehow I did manage to rip the pin out and it's go time. You can't put the pin back in once it's ripped out. I've got this Marine drill instructor right in my face, screaming at me, Veltri, throw it, throw the grenade. And I've got a big decision to make here. 3 choices. Choice number 1, I make a good decision and choose to throw the hand grenade. But we know as busy professionals, working from home, trying to work remote, trying to manage our kids at home, even when we make a good decision, it still has to be executed properly. Because what good is it if I don't throw it far enough, or at the right time, or in the right direction? Choice number 2. I am standing there holding a live hand grenade with the pin ripped out. I have this Marine drill instructor right in my face, screaming at me, driving up my fear, confusion, distracting me. So what happens if my fear takes a hold, or my ego? I've got 30 of my Marine buddies watching to see if I'm going to screw this thing up. My fear and ego shackle me. I make a bad decision, dropping the hand grenade, killing myself, killing and injuring my Marine buddies. Then there's always a third choice, my friends, where I neither make a good decision and throw it, nor make a bad decision and drop it, get it over with. But I choose to make no decision, because remember, indecision is still a decision, and I'll have to hold on to that hand grenade for the rest of my life. So let me ask you, how are the daily decisions in your business and personal life like that? Now, I did work up the courage to throw the grenade and no one was injured, and I went on to have an 8-year career in the military that I'm very proud of. But I'd like us to all consider that decisions in business and life are like that hand grenade. You're either going to hold it, drop it, or throw it. You're either going to make a good decision, a bad decision, or no decision. And I know we're not all holding on to real live hand grenades, but think of the hand grenade decisions that you are holding on to today. How do I work remote? How do I make sure the kids are being educated? How do I maintain revenue? How do I thrive in my current organization? And if I can get you to make better decisions by just a small uptick, the results will be geometric, and you will be able to leap your career, your company, your community, our great country forward during these challenging times. But here's a bigger challenge we all face, friends. Researchers at Cornell University have discovered that kids, our darling sons and daughters, make a whopping 3,000 decisions a day. 3,000 decisions a day that kids make. And if you have your kids at home with you now, we know they don't make the best decisions. As a matter of fact, I have a darling 6-year-old little daughter that I'm going to introduce you to. Here she is, the little blondie right there, Kiara. Now, we know kids don't make the best decisions. If you look closely at the photo, my little darling had decided to cut off her little friend's top knot in the picture. So there were a couple bad decisions there. My daughter came running up to me and said, "Daddy, can I play with the scissors?" I made a bad decision, said yes. She made a decision to snip off her little friend's top knot, and her little friend's mom decided to never bring her back for another play date. So the challenge is, and you can interact with us down on the bottom of your screen. You can send us a comment or a question, but I'd like you to interact with me now. if kids make a whopping 3,000 decisions a day, shoot over a comment. How many decisions a day do you think busy professionals like us make? And here's a hint. It's more than 3,000. We'll take a look when you start firing those over. Yep, shoot those comments and questions over. So we see some good guesses out there. So researchers have discovered that we make a whopping 35,000 decisions a day, ladies and gentlemen. 35,000 decisions a day, 365 days a year. That's over 12 million decisions annually we're faced with. Our colleagues, customers, clients, family, and friends are faced with. Think of all those hand grenade decisions you're juggling, big hand grenade decisions, little hand grenade decisions. There's got to be room for improvement. For example, have you ever seen this before, okay? Yeah, I saw this the other day. I went to get gas and I saw a guy there, right? Literally flammable, no smoking, and absolutely no common sense by this fellow. Now, a decision like this leads to a decision like this. Right? And yeah, there's two really bad decisions here. There's the fellow that decided to take a selfie in front of a fireball, and then there's somebody taking the picture of the guy taking a picture. So I don't know how that works, but the challenge is, my friends, when we're faced with 35,000 decisions a day, we don't have a simple system to help us make the best decisions possible. Now, I'm sure you have many systems, many even new systems right now to help you work remote, to help you navigate this new landscape that we're all in. I know I got a lot of great systems from my daughter's school to help homeschool her, but I never took a decision-making science class at school. So if we're making our decisions based on misguided cues or the latest fad or what our gut's telling us, we're not going to make good decisions. We're going to make mediocre decisions at best. And I'm not okay with that. I am not okay with us being mediocre leaders, especially today, where I need you being the best decision makers possible so you can leap your lives forward with flexibility, with fun, with energy and innovation. Because if we don't, it leads to regret. Regret that we lost a big customer, or we didn't get the promotion we wanted, or you never fulfilled your true life calling. But if you can learn a simple system for making better decisions, you liberate your future and live regret-free. And that's what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about showing successful professionals how to continue to be successful without being successfully miserable. And I've studied decision-making in many different contexts. As Charlie shared with you, I've studied decision-making in life or death combat in the Marine Corps and in the martial arts. I've studied decision-making in fighting for my own life and battling my own personal demons of cancer. I've studied decision-making in the boardroom of many different businesses, and I've studied decision-making at academic institutions, and this is what I've discovered. There are several common decision-making traps that we all fall into. Our colleagues, customers, clients, family, friends all fall into. But there are several simple solutions to help us avoid, conquer, get out of these decision-making traps when we fall into them. Because it boils down to, if we're making great decisions, we have a great, balanced, flexible life and great leadership, great servant leadership. And I'd like to introduce a concept with you that I discovered when I lived in Japan. Like Charlie, I'm an adventurer, and I lived in Japan for 10 glorious years. It's a wonderful country. I first went to Japan when I was still in the military, and I had always been attracted to the Marine Corps because of its noble warrior ethos. This whole idea of serving others, of servant leadership. I got out of the military after 8 years, but I stayed in Japan studying the equivalent of noble arts. The samurai arts of Japan, Bushido, the way of the noble warrior. And not only did I study the external martial arts, but more importantly, the internal, mental, mindful arts of Zen meditation, so important. Studied at Zen temples that are 800, 900 years old, and it was an amazing experience. Now, I wish I could have just stayed there doing all these really cool studies, but I had to pay for it somehow. So I was also working as a management consultant with a top-rated firm, setting up global Fortune 500 companies all throughout Asia Pacific. And as I'm working on these complex deals, setting up these companies around the world, I realized that the principles I had learned in the military, in the martial arts, in the mindfulness of Zen meditation were applicable on the battlefield of business. And I came across a concept called mushin. Now, mushin is a Japanese word, as you may have guessed, and it means no mind. But I'd like you to think of it as no distractions or clarity. Clarity to make the right decision at the right time, all the time. Free from the shackles of guilt and obligation, free from the shackles of fear and ego. And we're living in a fearful time. It's the freedom of the enlightened warrior. And make no mistake about it, my friends, we are all enlightened warriors, fighting for our careers, fighting for our company, fighting for our community, fighting for our country. And I want to arm you for decision-making battle so you can juggle those hand grenade decisions effortlessly when you're faced with 35,000 decisions, when you're faced with personal demands, when you're faced with working from home, raising your kids from home, what to do next. So let's dive in and take a look at 3 that I want to share with you, and more importantly, how to get over them. The first trap is a trap of clogged arteries. I call this a trap of distractions. Now, we have all become that proverbial frog bubbling in that boiling cauldron of electronic distractions. Let me see, by shooting over a comment to my panelist friends here, how many times a day do you think busy professionals like us look at your smartphone? And go ahead and take a guess to shoot over a comment. Well, I'm sure we'll see some good.
Michael, we have been getting so many great comments from the audience, and I'm seeing 15,000, 2,000, 600, 300, 7,000.
I know, Chuck. So guys, when I introduced that statistic of 35,000 decisions a day, we look at these things a lot, but not that many. On average, the normal professional, me and you, we will look at our smartphone about 350 distracting times per day. Now, some heavy users, not our kids, but me and you, the busy professionals, will look at their smartphone over 1,200 distracting times per day. It's unbelievable. Now, I also want to ask you all a question. Down on your panel, you have the ability to raise your hand and say, hey, let me see by a show of hands, how many of you use your smartphone as an alarm clock each morning? Let's see, go ahead, just pop on up.
All the hands are going up in the audience. It's like boom.
I used to. I would set my alarm for 5 a.m. My smartphone would go off. I'd immediately grab it. I'd start looking at my work emails, calendar items, to-do lists, social media posts, this, that, the other. My heart rate would spike. I would start to sweat. And where am I? Yeah, I'm still in the sheets. It's not even 5:01 yet. It's like 5 o'clock and 37 seconds. Then I would jump out of bed, worried about the day, and like a hamster on the wheel, I'd be running, going nowhere, juggling hand grenade decisions, dropping them, throwing them the wrong way. It was miserable. And let me ask you, my friends, do you use your cell phone, or does your cell phone use you? Okay. We've got to take back this losing battle against distractions. We have to unclog our decision-making arteries and prime our decision-making pump so we can be ready for decision-making battle. Otherwise, it's like trying to do decision-making battle with your arms and legs tied behind your back. We can't do it. So the solution I want to share with you is simple. It's called the double 5 count. It takes about 20 seconds to do, and I did it right before Charlie introduced me, 20 seconds. It's a deep breathing exercise, very important. And you're going to take 5 deep breaths, but it's called the double 5 count, so you're going to do it twice. So I want you to take these 5 deep breaths a certain way, and if you're somewhere where you can simply stand up and do this with me. If not, if you're seated somewhere, just sit up nice and straight. And I want you to take 5 breaths, but with your entire body. I want you to expand your belly as you inhale and contract your belly as you exhale. Okay, if you're standing up, soft knees, don't bend your legs. Inhale, expand your stomach. Exhale and contract. Inhale, expand. Exhale, contract. Now, keep breathing like that, big, deep belly breaths as I talk. Doing this provides you many benefits. Increased circulation, increased oxygen, increased blood flow, decreased stress. Everything that we need for decision-making battle, but especially everything we need just now in our lives. Now, it's called the double 5 count. So you're going to do this again. You're going to take 5 more breaths, but I want you to visualize something, the power of visualization. I want you to visualize your third place. Now, what is the third place? The third place is where we spend most of our time after our first 2 places, which is work and home. Now, wait a minute. Work and home have just probably become one for most of us. So now more than ever, the third place is so important, where you go to de-stress, to work out, to exercise, to take a mental break. And so I know we can't all stop in the middle of the day to take an online yoga class, but you can visualize your ideal third place. Now, take a look at the screen there. I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, northern Pennsylvania, way up on the lake, on Lake Erie next to Canada. And my ideal third place is this beautiful fall foliage. I love walking in those leaves with my parents. So take a look at the screen, and now wherever you are, if you're standing or if you're seated, back up straight, keep breathing deep with those belly breaths, and now close your eyes and just listen to my voice. In your mind's eye, see those yellows and reds and oranges. Smell the leaves changing. You know what I mean. Smell what it means like to you, the fall leaves. Feel the chill in the air. It's northern Pennsylvania in October, November. What do they sound like? Rustling. Visualize walking in those leaves with a loved one. Keep breathing in and out. Expand your belly. Contract your belly as you exhale. In and out. Soft knees, shoulders back. Go ahead and open your eyes. For some of you, you may want to visualize the beautiful mountains, hunting, fishing, or these beautiful beaches where I'm at in Southern California. Or maybe it's nailing that perfect yoga pose. Whatever you do, visualizing a powerful third place, breathing deeply with your body, pushes out the distractions, quiets the squirrel that runs around, focuses you in a powerful way that allows you for decision-making battle. It unclogs your decision-making pump and primes you for decision-making battle. Everything we need, whether it's making a big decision on a personal project, a business project, or anything else in our lives. So go ahead and have a seat if you're still standing. And I want us to make a few decisions now. First is decide to do this 3 times a day at least. 1, do it before you start work. Maybe the kids are running around at home and that few deep breaths, visualize that ideal third place and then start work. Do it after lunch when you're sleepy and the body can benefit from increased circulation, oxygen, blood flow, decreased stress. And do it anytime before a big event, meeting, or decision. Now that I got you ready for decision making, let's make a few decisions here. So here's a quick action step, and you can jot this down. I'm also going to ask you to shoot across some comments or questions. But I'm going to ask you to pick something here, but right underneath the 60 seconds of action, it says avoid the tyranny of how. Oftentimes, gang, before we get into action, we want to know, how can I do this? We get wanting perfection, especially as a high achiever, as a successful person, which you are. If you're on this webinar, you're taking time to invest in your personal growth. If you're successful, we want to know how to do it. Okay, let go of the how. Just get into action. Now more than ever, imperfect action leads to the how. So don't stop, just get into massive action and the how starts to show itself. Let's take a look at this quote by Stephen Covey, and if you can't read it, I'll read it for you. No matter how busy you are, set aside time for exercise and taking care of your health, your well-being. Otherwise, you won't have the vigor, the energy to fulfill your other priorities and earnings. So, my friends, having a third place right now, taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, environmentally, financially, all of that is well-being. You become better at your vocation. You become a better parent, a better brother, a better caretaker. So what is your current third place right now? I'm sure it's changed for a lot of us because work and home, 1 and 2 become 1. So let's brainstorm. Don't get paralyzed by the tyranny of how. Come up with 3 new third places you want to try. Challenge yourself. You take an online class, go for a walk, or maybe you're getting tired of walking. Figure out through things. Shoot over a question or a comment. What works for you? What are some really cool third places that you have come up with now when you're sheltering in place? So I've got to keep us moving along, and we'll try to get to all the questions and comments as we can. So let's take a look at our second trap, and more importantly, how to conquer this decision-making trap of extremes. I call it the Goldilocks Trap. Now, I'm sure we all remember the fairy tale Goldilocks and the Three Bears. She was always faced with extremes. 3 bowls of porridge, too hot, too cold, just right, 3 chairs, 3 beds, all of these things, too lumpy. The Goldilocks trap of extremes is when we make a decision too quickly. Have you ever heard the phrase that you go extinct by your instincts? Or you make a decision too slowly? We suffer from analysis paralysis. You give yourself too many choices or too few. And in a real world business case example, when I was working as a management consultant, I was working on a big project. It was a joint venture between Toyota and General Motors. They had already produced a vehicle to sell throughout all of Asia Pacific, but there was just one problem. It wasn't selling, right? Like that dog won't hunt. You know, it wasn't getting up and go. So they hired me and my team to come in to see what can we do to fix this? What can we do to find out, get this thing back on track, boost sales? And so one day I spent about 4 hours with a Japanese colleague of mine, going from tip to tail, bumper to bumper on the car. And he was showing me everything through an Asian consumer's eyes that was wrong with the vehicle. Everything from, although it was luxuriously manufactured, the seats, for example, were comfortable, beautiful, but they were a little too big. And when an Asian consumer sat in the seats, it made them feel a little insignificant. So the good Marine, the good type A, I'm taking all of these notes, page after page of notes. I get back to my office, I drop it into a big project plan. We have these 500 items. I go back to GM, we give the report, we get the team together, we're gonna solve all these 500 problems, get sales up, and what do you think happened? Yeah, nothing. There was too many. Instead of succeeding at all, we failed at all. But I learned a very valuable lesson that I want to share with you. I call it the 3x15 rule. And you take away nothing more than this today. I know it's going to add a lot of power and value to your lives. 3, the mind can only handle 3 pieces of information at once. You introduce a 4th or a 5th, it pushes out one of the other. You've got to work with groups of 3 to give yourself best choices. As a matter of fact, I call this the rule of 3. It works like this. 1 choice is not a choice. 2 is just a dilemma, either this or that. You need 3 choices to truly have choice. 1 choice is not a choice. 2 is a dilemma. You need 3 choices to truly have choice. One way to help you get there is to set a timer, the 3x15 minute rule. You don't need 15 minutes to make every decision, of course not. Sometimes you need a lot less, sometimes you need a lot more. But what I encourage you to do, what the rule asks you to do, is to set a timer. The simple act psychologically of setting a timer will pull you and your team forward with purpose, not pressure, purpose. We use the Alexa dot in my office. I'll say, Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes, set a timer for 30 minutes. And my team and I get to work with purpose, not pressure. I really encourage you to try setting a timer. Now I'm going to set a 60-second timer for you guys. And we're going to go back to that first action step that I asked you to do. I asked you to list 3 new third places. Okay, now more than ever, we got to have a great third place to take care of our mental well-being, emotional, physical, spiritual, financial, environmental, the list goes on. What'd you come up with? If you wrote down 1, that's not a choice. So I'm going to share with you some of my favorite new third places, and maybe it gives you an idea. I love martial arts, and I would be at the Martial Arts Academy training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu 4 or 5 times a week. I can't go there now, but like we're doing on Zoom, they're running Zoom classes. So I will stream a class. Even if I can't do what they're drilling, I might go for a walk and listen to the class. My wife does online yoga all the time. I have a friend who's got a little swimming pool in his yard. he can't swim laps. He couldn't swim laps, but had an innovative third place. He attached a little harness to his waist, and he's able to make an infinity pool by swimming in place and get a great exercise. There's tons of things you can do. What about finally taking a dance class and learning how to dance so we can party in the streets and we can get back into our office? Number 2 here, some of my favorite non-physical places to go. There's wonderful apps that I recommend, meditative apps such as Calm, Headspace, and Insight Timer. There's a bunch more you can try. What about books? I mean, old school paper books. Try to stay away from the e-readers, especially at night. The reflection on the e-reader can affect your ability to actually get quality sleep. Get a good old school fiction paper book and enjoy reading. And what else? You know, if you have some great new third places, again, or questions or comments, please keep shooting them over. If we can't answer them all live, we'll try and follow up with you with answer all your questions too. So, keeping with our rule of 3, I'm getting to our third and final decision-making trap, and more importantly, the solution. So in the first trap, a trap of distractions, we did the double 5 count to get clear, present, and focused, ready to handle all of these 35,000 decisions we're faced. The second trap, the trap of extremes, we learned to work in groups of 3, set a timer to pull us forward with purpose, not pressure. The third trap is that of bad influences, the street gang trap. Because what do we know about the mean streets of Des Moines there? There's a lot of bad influences, right? This is when we make a decision out of fear, ego, anger, right? Who hasn't sent an angry text message, which we wish we could take right back? Make a decision out of guilt, obligation, revenge. Not good ways to make decisions. And I'd like you to all meet Coach Callie Sweeney. Coach Callie. Callie was born in downtown Detroit in 1970. Not a good time to be born in downtown Detroit. His parents were drug addicts, and when Callie was 2 weeks old, he was given away to a woman in the neighborhood. No adoption, no paperwork. A year later, Callie's biological parents were dead from a drug overdose, and Callie bounced from house to house to house. By the time he was 13, he had been shot and stabbed. He was illiterate, couldn't read or write. Teachers just passed him along from grade to grade to get him out of their hair. 17 years old, he finally dropped out of school. He was literally making every decision from the street gang trap and in a street gang, a life of crime, violence, drugs, decision-making from fear, anger, machismo, revenge. He was literally fighting for his life. At age 18, he had a chance encounter with an older half-brother. His older half-brother was only 6 years older, 24 years old, but his older brother had a car, had a job, had an apartment, had a girlfriend, none of which Callie still had at 18. But what Coach Callie has is what we all have. We have the indomitable will to not just survive, but the indomitable will to thrive. And Callie asked his brother, said, "Brother, I'm fighting for my life out here. What are you doing different than I'm not?" And this is what his brother told him. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you. When you hear something said a certain way by a certain person at a certain time in your life, and the light bulb goes off, there's a permanent transformation, not a change, right? Because we can change out of our clothes and then change back into them. A transformation is permanent, irreversible. Caterpillar to butterfly. It's not going back. This is what Coach Callie's brother told him, or actually showed him. He said, "Baby brother, come here. I carry this photograph with me," and he pulled out this faded color photograph. He's like, "This is a photograph I carry with me everywhere I go as a reminder." Every one of these boys in this photo, and it was a picture when Callie's older brother, they were all like 12 years old in Michigan in the wintertime, bundled up, about to go ice skating of all things. And his brother said, "Baby brother, take a look. You know some of these boys. You remember some of these. Every one of these boys in this picture has something in common that I don't. Every one of these little boys in the picture are either dead or in jail." And Callie thought, everyone he had surrounded himself with, everyone he knew, was either already dead, in jail, on their way to jail, getting out of jail. And Callie knew if he didn't transform his life immediately, he'd either be dead, in jail, or dead in jail quick. He got out of the street gang and got an hourly wage making job working construction. A year later, he got his GED. He got that apartment, got a car, got a girlfriend. 10 years later, at age 28, he opened up the downtown Detroit nonprofit youth boxing gym. But here's the cool thing, my friends. It's not a boxing gym. It's a leadership development academy disguised as a boxing gym. Callie wanted to create a safe place for kids like him to go and have the support structure that he didn't have. 4 hours a day, these kids get trained in not just in the gym, but 2 hours before a workout and 2 hours after. They're tutored by positive male and female role models, teaching them not only about schoolwork, but how to make good decisions, how to be a good servant leader, how to give back, not take, how to give. He's been open for 10 years. Over this 10-year period, the high school graduation rate in a 3.5-mile radius from his academy is a paltry 37%. His high school graduation rate for the thousands of kids that have gone through it over the 10 years is 100%. Every one of those kids have graduated from high school. 97% have gone on to college and graduated. Now, how did Callie go from literally illiterate gangbanger to decision-making master, cornerstone in of the rebirth of downtown Detroit, nonprofit master, helping millions of lives? If you think of all the lives that have touched, he didn't do it himself. This is my last solution that'll help us get through all of these tough times, handle all of your hand grenade decisions. I call it the Fab Five. I'm sure we all know who Tony Robbins is, the big, tall, personal development pioneer. Tony's material is great. I highly recommend it if you like him. Well, Tony Robbins' mentor, one of the men that trained Tony Robbins, his name is Jim Rohn. You guys might be familiar with Jim Rohn's material. Jim has since passed away, but he was a pioneer in the personal development, leadership development space. Jim has a great saying that I want to share with you. We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Quickly now, jot down who are the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are there some people in there that you got to get rid of? You know what I mean? Those energy vampires, right? When they text or call you, your shoulders slump, you know they're going to be a negative person. Hey, now more than ever, we got to cut those energy vampires out of our lives. You need to surround yourself with positive male and female role models that can help you navigate these decision-making traps, that can help you get past your fear, get over your ego. Especially if you're in charge, you need someone to tell you no. No, you're making a bad decision. Because if you have people like this around you, your decisions, your life will look like that, silly and a mess. You need to put powerful people that you can go to in times of need. Because if not, what happens? I'll do it myself. Yeah. And you're going to bend until you break. Become successfully miserable. Happened to me. Okay? Now more than ever, we need that strong team around us. And so here's my challenge to you, my Fab Five challenge. Right now, carpe diem, my friends. Start to create your Fab Five. You can have a Fab Five for business decisions, a Fab Five for personal decisions. Have fun with it. Have your family help you, your friends help you, mentors, coaches, colleagues. Use your Fab Five to help you conquer the tyranny of how. Establish a powerful third place that now more than ever we need to leap our careers, our companies, and communities forward. Have your Fab Five help you discover and implement your irresistible offer. We all have an irresistible offer that is of benefit to everybody. Callie's irresistible offer was that I am going to save your children and make them servant leaders. How great is that? We all have an irresistible offer to get us through these challenging times. Use your Fab Five to create and experiment with that together. Now, we are going to make this material available for you. So don't worry if you're not able to get everything that you need. Here's a little summary of the 3 traps and solutions that I shared with you. And you can take a little screenshot. Just don't look at those distracting text messages. And again, this material will also be made available after the webinar too. So I learned how to make better decisions and be a better leader, have a more purposeful life. The hard way, my friends. You see, it took me getting cancer to see where I had to make better decisions. I was 34 years old, never been sick a day in my life when I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. I had emergency surgery to remove my right testicle, and we caught it early. There was no spread, and besides having to put up with some hilariously humiliating jokes from my friends, everything was okay. I had to undergo aggressive observation, which was monthly chest, abdomen, and pelvis CAT scans to make sure the cancer hadn't returned, and everything looked good. Month 1, 2, 3, 4, everything was good. I'm on target. Then month 5, my oncologist, my doctor simply walks in and says, Michael, the cancer has spread to your lungs and we have to start chemotherapy. You know, at that point, all the jokes stop, and I'm sure we all have a personal connection with cancer. Friends, family members, and I'm sure there's some cancer patients, fellow cancer survivors there. My heart is with you. All cancers are different, treatments are different. In my case, radiation wouldn't work. I had an aggressive form of cancer that spread to my lungs. I needed an aggressive form of chemotherapy. Most chemotherapy, you go once a week, once every 2 weeks. I had to go every day, Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., 6 hours every day for 3 months. You know, what you hear about chemotherapy is true. You know, the hair falls out and you become unnaturally thin. I'm a tough person, but no one's tougher than cancer. I made it through those 3 months, and I had to undergo one more procedure to be cancer-free. That was surgery to remove half of my left lung where those dead tumors resided. And the surgery was a success, but at a cost. At the height of my physical prowess, at age 34, I was left crippled in a wheelchair, unable to do anything. My mom, I wasn't married at the time, so my mom, and you know, God bless all you moms. I'm sorry. So my mom was taking care of me. And like I shared with you with Coach Callie, we all have this indomitable spirit to not just survive, but to thrive, myself included. A few months after that, I could get out of the wheelchair and I could shuffle around my home. 6, 7 months later, I was able to walk slowly to build up my lung capacity. About a year later, I went for a little jog, you know, like the old man shuffle at age 35, for about a block. And then a few short years after that, I ran my first marathon on 1.5 lungs as a fundraiser for the American Cancer Society. And I am telling you, my friends, we all have this indomitable spirit to not just survive, but to thrive under any circumstance you can imagine. And you don't have to wait like I did to get smacked in the face, because I need a life-threatening illness like cancer to smack me and wake me up and show me where I was making horrible decisions. I had reached a level of success in my life, but I had become successfully miserable. And I don't want you to have to suffer the same way I did to realize what we need to do now with our lives. I don't want you to have to abuse drugs and alcohol, or go through a tough divorce, or not even know your kids anymore because you're working so much. The time is now, my friends. These traps and solutions are real and they work, and I've implemented every one of them. I applied them to my life to work on becoming a better, enlightened warrior. And it's not perfect. It's still a practice with me. I still make bad decisions, but I clean them up quicker. I get better. And I know we can all become enlightened decision-making warriors, reaching that balance in our life, especially now when work and home have become one. We can find that with a powerful third place, the great Fab Five, using the 3x15 rule. And as we start to wrap up, I've got one more inspiring story. Who remembers these iconic yet clunky consumer products called Old Spice? Okay, show of hands, shoot a comment over. Right? Who remembers these things? Okay, 1937, Old Spice came about. One fragrance called Glacial Falls. Their sales and marketing plan was to sell to the older distinguished gentlemen. And how many of you remember buying those gift sets for the older gentlemen in your life? Now, you might think you have a problem, but if your organization isn't called, old organization that can't work, you're doing okay, because look at your screen. Like, the product is called old. It has old in its name. It's got that old clunky ship, but it worked. From 1937 to about 2010, Old Spice's profits were off the charts. They were thriving. But then, and let me see a comment, shoot it over here. In 2010, a competitor to Old Spice showed up, and Old Spice's profits were plummeting. Who is that competitor that came on the scene? Okay, we're seeing some good guests. Yeah, you guys know. Yeah, Axe body spray. All those cool boys spraying themselves down, skinny as a rail. Axe was eating their lunch, and Old Spice had to move quickly. And they started where we left off, with the Fab Five. They put a strong team around them to navigate all of these traps and decisions. And in 2011, they rolled out Old Spice Swagger. Now, here's the hilarious thing. It's still called Old. It still has the ship. It's just a little bit smaller, but they made it fun and relevant and memorable. Like, we can't forget these commercials with Terry Crews in them. I don't even use Old Spice, and I love the product. Now, when they rolled this out, they had a sales goal to double sales in that elusive group of millennial males ages 14 to 34 in 1 year. Now, double sales 1 year, what do you think they did? By making better decisions, that's all they did. Quadrupled sales. And how great would it be right now if we're doubling our membership or our results or our profits or our ability to grow and serve others by making better decisions? And that's what I want for us. And reach a level of success and to get your decision-making swagger back. Over these last couple of weeks, we've all taken a hit. And I want you to have that confidence, not an arrogance, but a confidence to know that you can manage those 35,000 daily decisions. You can juggle those hand grenade decisions, that you can not just survive, that you can thrive now more than ever. And as we wrap up here, I've got 3 parting gifts that will help you to achieve this with balance, not burnout. First is the gift of continued learning. You can go to my leadership resource page. It's michaelveltri.com/go. It's password protected with the tough to remember 2020. There's nothing salesy about it. I don't need your email address. It's all free. Go. You can download all of the decision-making traps and solutions. There's 2 additional traps and solutions to learn about. There's very simple action plans to implement and help, ideas on third places. Please access it, use it, share it far and wide. If you're making better decisions, we're being better servant leaders, and our community and country is coming out of this quicker. The second gift is the gift of support. Several of you asked about a recording of this webinar. Yes. If you showed up late or you want to listen to the material again, Charlie and his group are very kind. They will be able to make this entire webinar, both the audio and the video, if you just want to listen to it, available at a later date, so you can have that gift of support. Third and final is continued education. I am so honored to be able to kick off this series. Thank you so much. We've got 7 other magnificent speakers that will also continue to inspire and motivate and educate you. So stay tuned for next Wednesday and the following entry as you go through this continuing education. Because remember, as I talked about, Charlie, I know we're at our time, but if there are any questions, it's up to you whether we want to wrap up now.
Here's what we'll do. Michael, this was like so awesome. I just can't thank you enough. If we were in Des Moines doing this event in person, we would have filled up Wells Fargo Arena. I mean, we wouldn't have fit anywhere but Wells Fargo Arena. The response has been awesome. So let's do questions on the hashtag. So guys, if you have questions for Michael or for me or for Nami of Greater Des Moines, use the hashtag weareherewithyou.com and one of us will respond to your question. You can do that Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And so we'll take your questions there. Big thank you to Delta Dental for paying for the cost of this broadcast today, and to Angela Cox-Weston over at Midwest Speakers Bureau for putting this thing together. Midwest Speakers Bureau can help you put your event together if you need a great speaker like Michael. Next week, we've got Paul Long. Paul Long was just texting me. He said, get ready to have some fun next week. He is the author of the book Fundimism. So he's a great comic and Kansas City Royals fan of the year. He's got a great, hilarious story to share with us. So thanks so much again, guys, for being here today. Remember, our action item after we leave today, take your mantra for the week. Let's write it down. Let's stick it on a piece of tape. Mine was we can do hard things. And we'd love to see your photos at the hashtag weareherewithyou.com. Guys, thanks so much for being with you. I'm Charlie Whitmack. I'll be back with you next week hosting Paul Long, and I'll be with you for the next 8 weeks. So please tune in. Thanks again, Michael.
Thanks, Charlie. All right,
absolutely awesome. Virtual high five, my friend.